guys, Prowl 1701 here, and today I'm going to talk about a Ninth Doctor story, an audio story called Cold Open, which is basically the Ninth Doctor's first adventure, I believe. He's still going through the regenerative process, the post-regenerative process, I should say. It's only about 32 minutes long. It's not long. It's a nice short adventure, and it couples really well with another mini episode called No More War, which I have a video on Patreon. I was a Patreon exclusive review. And No More War was basically picks up with the War Doctor regenerating into the Ninth Doctor. The Ninth Doctor, of course, forgetting the events of the War of Day of the Doctor because of the regeneration and because he couldn't retain it, as we knew. Him remembering or thinking he destroyed Gallifrey, and then him basically going through the 5 stages of grief, coping with that. And it was only about 6 minutes long. It's kind of like Born Again was for the 10th Doctor, the Little Children Need Special Born Again, where it picks up right after the events of 9 regenerating into 10. This was kind of the audio equivalent of that, with War regenerating into 9 and him adjusting to being the Ninth Doctor. And that kind of leads into, again, if you're interested in that review, that is on the Patreon. That's one of the Sunday videos that only patrons get. $5 tier level patrons get the first 2 weeks of the month, the first 2 Sundays of the month. And the $7.50 and up gets the whole month on Sundays. Cold Open is interesting. It starts with a pair of people in some really cold weather trekking back to their facility. It's a man and a woman. The man stumbles across something underground, and he gets caught up in this thing where he's kind of dying and not dying constantly. It's like brutal. It's like a living hell. And she stumbles on the Tardis asking for help. So, of course, the Doctor pops out and helps. But it's cutting back and forth between the past and the present with the Doctor. The Doctor's basically being interrogated by this alien force. And it's cutting between him being interrogated while he's in the TARDIS. Or, I don't even think he's in the TARDIS. And him and this woman finding this technology. It's really hard to review this. The Doctor does the best he can for her friend, which is basically to stop him reforming so he's not in hell. Basically, he disperses the atoms so they can float among the universe. Kind of like what he does with Kylie Minogue in Voyage of the Damned. Because that's a much better fate than what the guy was going through. And then they get trapped on this ship, and the Doctor can't materialize away, or dematerialize away, and that's when the post-regeneration stuff hits him, and he kind of passes out, like his body gets weak, and he passes out, and he tells her, do not open the doors. They can't get in, don't open the doors. But they can talk to her, they can communicate through the TARDIS, and they convince her to open the doors. Hey, she's young, she doesn't know any better. And the enemy's pretty convincing. The voice of the enemy's pretty good. They do some little voice work. I don't know if modulation is the right word, because they don't sound like the Daleks, but the voice work they do for the aliens is really good. And it's basically an alien force that likes violence, that thrives on violence, that loved the Time War, wished they'd been in the Time War. We're kind of there for the Time War. They find out about this technology that, forms and dissipates and reforms people. And it's Time Lord technology. The Time Lords were trying to utilize it in the Time War, because we know in the Time War, lots of crazy things happen. The 10th Doctor talks about an end of time, all of the stuff the Time Lords were working on, and just kind of the levels of insanity that they had reached by the end of the Time War. And this was kind of one of those machines, because they actually thought they could form a bridge between the world of the living and the world of the dead, and that the dead could walk back through to the living. You have an endless army, to which even which the Doctor even says is nonsense, and even the aliens agree, yeah, it's nonsense, but they were desperate at this point, which the Time Lords were at this point, as we saw in the End of Time. And so the Doctor basically has to outsmart the aliens. You managed to use the machine, and it's really weird right there in audio form. I really needed some visual representation just to see kind of what he was doing there. But he manages to thwart them and send them the item, the little thing, and the aliens back into the middle of the Time War, which the aliens loved. And the Ninth Doctor, it left him in space, and he managed to make his way back to the TARDIS because he still had his residual regeneration energy. He says, had to use up the last of my residual regeneration energy to make it back. And he basically takes her home, and she wants to travel with him, but he doesn't want to travel with her for a multitude of reasons. One, she did kind of open the doors. Two, he realized she was faced with an impossible choice, that he had also been kind of faced with an impossible choice, you know, let the universe burn or kill his own people. And again, the killing his own people thing is still fresh in his mind. He still has that post-traumatic stress from that. So he said, you know, every time I look at you, I'll be reminded of that. And so she wants to come with him, but he won't let her. And he says, you know, goodbye and I'm sorry. And then he has a little monologue with himself about, you know what? It's time to be the Doctor again. Just go out exploring, seeing the universe like how I started. It's okay. Like I said, for 32 minutes long, it's nice. I don't know if that's Eccleston or not voicing him. I don't know if that's Eccleston or someone that sounds like Eccleston, but does a good job. Sounds like the Ninth Doctor, acts like the Ninth Doctor. I enjoy it. The actress playing the girl that's kind of the semi-companion for the story, she's good. I liked her. I wouldn't mind her coming back. I don't know if she ever does come back. I liked her well enough. And then, again, the voice work on the aliens is really good. And that's really your main cast. Well, you do have one guy at the beginning. He's fine. The story was enjoyable. It couples really well with No More War, the little 6-minute mini episode. If you listen to those together, it's a nice little story. And again, listening to them together is probably less than 40 minutes. So it's nice to kind of listen to one and go straight into the other. I found it enjoyable. A nice little chance for me to listen, because I think this is the first time I've ever listened to the Ninth Doctor on audio. Except for, I listened to the first half of Time Fractured. I need to go back and listen to that sometime. With the 9th and 12th Doctors. I need to go back and finish that, because that's really good. But the first, like, I guess, official one is the first time I've listened to a Ninth Doctor one, and I found it enjoyable. So, have you listened to Cold Open or No More War? What do you think of these stories? Comment down below and tell me your thoughts. Don't forget to click the like button and the subscribe button as well. I also have a Patreon if you'd like to support me on that. There is a link to that down there. I want to give a shout out to Unknown289, as this video was a patron request of his. He did request that I do this video and found it enjoyable. I want to give a shout out to all of my top tier patrons, Colin Coney, Sam, Venning, Finn, Perkins, and Unknown289. I appreciate their support, as I do the support of all of my patrons and my YouTube members. I certainly appreciate everything they do, especially lately with work being the way work is. Work has been rough. I have one part-time job I just left, and then another part-time job, which is actually really good. That job I like, but the other part-time job I just left recently. So their support's been really nice on the Patreon. I also have a P.O. box if there's anything you want to send me to look at and review. A link to my Amazon wish list is down there. A link to the Amazon UK wish list is also down there. I love fan mail, I do. And most importantly, thank you for watching.